The polished mahogany doors of Hamilton Industries conference room loomed before me, Catherine's shrill voice slicing through them. This is a private executive meeting. Family only. Well, important family only. I adjusted my understated black blazer, Brunello Cucinelli, though they'd never recognized true luxury unless it screamed logos. I kept my expression calm. They had no idea that Olivia Hamilton, the so-called underachieving middle child, was actually the CEO of Phoenix Enterprises, the company about to seize their crumbling empire. Of course, Catherine, I said evenly, I'll wait outside. She smirked. Actually, could you grab coffee for everyone? You're so good at service tasks. If only she knew. While she pranced around in our father's dying company, I controlled a global portfolio worth billions. Over the past year, Phoenix Enterprises had quietly swallowed Hamilton Industries' debt, piece by piece, waiting for this very moment. Grande lattes all around? I asked, eyeing her cheap Chanel knockoff. Make sure Dad's is sugar-free, she called after me, and don't worry about the merger discussion, not like you'd understand it anyway. I turned away, already picturing the stack of documents in my penthouse office at Phoenix Tower. The mystery merger they thought would save them, that was me, orchestrated through a labyrinth of shell companies. Hamilton Industries was drowning, though arrogance had blinded them to the truth. My phone buzzed. A text from my CFO, all set for the 2 p.m. reveal, Hamilton board confirmed. Instead of heading for coffee, I stepped into my waiting car and directed the driver to Phoenix Tower. In my private suite, I traded the modest blazer for my real armor, a custom Tom Ford suit worth more than Catherine's yearly clothing budget. Miss Phoenix, my assistant entered with a thick folder. The final merger papers are ready. Their financials are even worse than we anticipated. I flipped through the pages while my team prepared for the afternoon takeover. Hamilton Industries, my father's once prized legacy, was hollowed out by Catherine's reckless spending and his own stubborn mismanagement. Another ping from Catherine, where's the coffee? The buyers arrive at 2. Try to be useful for once. I almost laughed, imagining her expression when she discovered the buyers reported to me. There's no sweeter victory than revealing exactly who someone underestimated. I heard my father's voice echoing from old dinners, Catherine is a true Hamilton. You were never cut out for business, couldn't even handle a junior analyst role. What he never knew was that I had left that role because I was already building Phoenix Enterprises, laying the foundation for an empire they couldn't fathom. Your latest shareholder report, Miss Phoenix. My assistant handed me another document. Stock hit a new record this morning. I scanned the numbers, billions in assets, acquisitions across 3 continents, and now the final play, showing my family exactly who I had become. The morning slipped by as I prepared to deliver the truth they had refused to see. My team had orchestrated every detail flawlessly, the shell companies that quietly absorbed Hamilton Industries' debt, the strategic manipulation of their stock price, the merger offer they would be too desperate to refuse. At 1:45 p.m. I stepped into my private elevator, descending to the garage where my driver waited. In less than an hour, my family would learn the truth. The daughter they had dismissed and excluded was about to become their new owner. The board is assembled. My assistant's voice came through my earpiece. Your father and sister are still waiting for Phoenix Enterprises delegation. Perfect, I replied, sliding into the car. Let's show them what real leadership looks like. The 12-minute drive to Hamilton Industries flew by as I reviewed their financial ruin one last time, Catherine's unauthorized luxury expenses, my father's failed acquisitions, the lawsuits buried in footnotes to keep shareholders ignorant. As I stepped out of the car, every inch the powerful CEO they had refused to believe I could become, the building security guard, now quietly on my payroll, gave me a respectful nod. Alert the board, I said into my earpiece. Phoenix Enterprises CEO has arrived. Some meetings are worth arriving fashionably late to, especially when you're there to buy the company that once barred you from its boardroom. At exactly 2 p.m., I pushed open the conference room doors, my heels echoing sharply against the marble. The room fell silent. Not Olivia Hamilton. The disappointment. Today, I was Phoenix, the very CEO they believed would rescue them. My apologies, Catherine blurted, jumping to her feet, not recognizing me beneath my sharp Tom Ford suit. This is a private meeting. We're expecting Phoenix Enterprises representatives. I am Phoenix Enterprises, I said calmly, placing my briefcase on the table. CEO and majority shareholder. My father's face drained of color as realization struck. Catherine stumbled back into her chair, her mouth working soundlessly. Olivia, my father finally choked out. What is this, a prank? The only joke, I said, sliding into the head seat, is how catastrophically you've run this company. Shall we look at the numbers? I opened my briefcase and laid out the reports. In 3 years, Hamilton Industries has hemorrhaged 60% of its market share. Your debt has tripled. I turned sharply to Catherine. And your expense accounts, fascinating reading. You can't, Catherine stammered, her voice rising. You're nothing. You couldn't even handle an analyst job. Actually, I interrupted, clicking a button. The screens lit up with Phoenix Enterprises Global Holdings, each more impressive than the last. I resigned that analyst position because I was busy building this. While you were billing spa trips to the company, I was constructing an empire worth billions. The board shifted, eyes darting between me and my father, already aware of the desperate merger terms that had been quietly circulated. This is impossible, my father barked, though his voice trembled. You can't be the CEO of Phoenix Enterprises. The same person who has been buying your debt piece by piece, who now holds your company's fate. I arched an eyebrow. Would you like to see my credentials? My phone buzzed, a message from my legal team. Press outlets are picking up the acquisition story. Stock collapse imminent if deal fails. Let's move on to the merger terms, I continued coolly, sliding contracts across the table. Phoenix Enterprises will acquire Hamilton Industries at $12 per share, generous. Given your actual valuation, all current executive management will be terminated effective immediately. Terminated? Catherine screeched. You can't fire me. I'm executive vice president. You mean the EVP who embezzled $2.3 million for personal villas and shopping sprees? I slid a folder forward, the evidence meticulously documented, every wire transfer, every fraudulent receipt. Board members rifled through the papers, voices rising in stunned outrage. My father seemed to shrink before my eyes, the weight of his crumbling empire aging him in minutes. Why, he finally whispered, broken, why didn't you tell us you had succeeded? I met his gaze without flinching. Would you have believed me, the daughter you called incompetent, the one you refused to let into this room? I stood, smoothing my suit jacket, feeling the weight of years of dismissal lift from my shoulders. You have 1 hour to sign the merger agreements, I announced, or Phoenix Enterprises will call in your debts immediately. Your choice, a quiet exit, or a spectacular, very public bankruptcy. The board members were already scrambling for their pens, recognizing a losing battle when they saw one. Catherine sat frozen, her cheap designer knockoff suddenly looking as hollow as her self-proclaimed competence. Oh, and Catherine, I added, pausing at the doorway, about that coffee order. I take my lattes with extra irony. Exactly 1 hour later, the merger documents were signed. Hamilton Industries, the company that once sneered at me as a disappointment, was now a wholly owned subsidiary of Phoenix Enterprises. As the board members filed out, I remained seated at the head of the table, a seat that was finally, rightfully mine. Security will escort you both to clear out your offices, I said calmly to my father and Catherine. You have until 5 p.m. You're really doing this? My father asked, his voice dry and brittle. Destroying your own family's legacy? Legacy? I laughed softly. You mean the legacy of silencing me in every meeting, of branding me the family embarrassment? That legacy ended long before today. Catherine, still reeling, made a final, pathetic attempt. We can work something out, she pleaded. Keep it in the family, just like you kept me in all those meetings, right? I pressed a button on my phone. Screens flickered to life around the room, playing years of security footage, every time they shoved me out of conference rooms, every eye roll, every snide remark about my abilities. I've kept excellent records, I said. My assistant stepped in with a neat stack of documents. Miss Phoenix, she announced, the press release is ready. Would you like me to read it? I nodded, eyes fixed on my family. Phoenix Enterprises announces full acquisition and restructuring of Hamilton Industries. Former CEO James Hamilton to retire effective immediately. Executive Vice President Catherine Hamilton resigning amid internal audit findings. You can't release that, Catherine shrieked, lurching forward. It will ruin me. Much like you tried to ruin me, I replied evenly. How many potential partners did you warn that I was unstable, that I couldn't handle pressure? I have those recordings too. Security stepped in, prepared to escort them. My father turned, his face pale and slack with defeat. I never imagined you'd become this ruthless, he muttered. No, I said, meeting his eyes coldly, you never imagined I'd become anything at all. That was your first mistake. In the weeks that followed, Hamilton Industries underwent a total transformation under Phoenix Enterprises. The stock price soared, nearly doubling after Catherine's embezzlement was quietly resolved. My father's archaic management vanished overnight, replaced by my strategies, the same ones they claimed I wasn't capable of understanding. A month later, I sat in my glass-walled office atop Phoenix Tower, looking out over a city that finally recognized me. The Hamilton Industries building now bore a gleaming Phoenix logo. Catherine had retreated to a dingy apartment, her assets frozen pending investigation. My father disappeared to the lake house, his circle of enablers as diminished as his pride. My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Your mother is here, she's been waiting in reception for over an hour. I pulled up the security feed, watching her fidget nervously, clutching a designer handbag, real this time, purchased with money I had funneled anonymously years ago through charities she claimed as her own goodwill. Tell her Miss Phoenix is in meetings all day, I said. She's welcome to leave a message with the service staff. I hear they're excellent at handling family affairs. Because sometimes, revenge isn't about vengeance, it's about leaving them to sit in the echo of their own smallness. I glanced at a photo on my desk, the last family picture before I quit my analyst job. Their smug smiles, their collective certainty in my failure. That same photo now sat atop the empire they said I'd never build. Miss Phoenix, my assistant called again. The board of Wilson Corp. Is ready for you. They're interested in an acquisition discussion. I smiled, adjusting my tailored jacket. Another boardroom, another empire, another chance to remind the world that approval is not required, only proof. Because the best seat at any table isn't given, it's taken, and sometimes, the person they shove out of the room is the one who returns to buy the entire building. The Hamilton name might linger on dusty old letterhead, but the Phoenix had risen, higher than they could have ever imagined. In the end, they didn't just lose their company, they lost the last illusion that they could ever underestimate me again.